Welcome class 6. We have a lesson on the reproductive system, and to introduce you to a system is a combination of several organs performing a common task. In class 5 you looked at two systems, the breathing system, and you discussed that the system, for the breathing system we needed the nose, we needed the trachea, and other parts to make the breathing system. Therefore, a system is a combination of several organs performing a common task. Here we have a system that I want us to discuss, known as the reproductive system. And because it's a system, you have to go through the organs that make up the reproductive system. And these organs include, the diagram is here, really drawn. We have the female reproductive system. It has got the following organs. To start with, is known as the birth canal or the vagina. Then we have, here we have, this is where the vagina, this is where the sperms are deposited. It is the path through which a child passes during birth. We also have the cervix here. The cervix is a ring of muscles that close the womb for 9 months. So this ring of muscles, anytime the woman is pregnant, this part closes completely for 9 months. And the muscles that close the womb or hold that baby or fetus for those 9 months is the cervix. Here is the ovary. Ovary is an organ that contains millions of cells, known as ovum. Known as ova in plural, and in singular, one of them is known as an ovum. After every 28 days, one of the ova matures and is released as an ovum. I've said the singular, the word ovum is the singular, ova is the plural. So it is released, the ovary releases a mature ovum after every 28 days. When this one is released, that process is known as ovulation. That's why I wrote the term ovulation here. Ovulation is the release of a mature ovum from the ovary after every 28 days. The ovaries are two. We have one. This one, we don't say it is on the right because my right side is on this side. We refer it to as the left. We give the opposite. The left ovary, this is the right ovary. They alternate to release the ovum after every 28 days. Once the ovum is released, it is fertilized at this point. This part is what we call the fallopian tube. And fertilization is another term I would wish to discuss. Fertilization is the fusion. It is the joining, or it is the union of this ovum, which is this way in nature, and a sperm. When the two join, they form a single cell. We say fertilization has taken place. That's why I've said fertilization is the union of the ovum from the ovary and the sperms from the male side. When they meet at this point, they join at that point. We say that fertilization takes place. Then, this is the uterine wall. It is thick. These are muscles. It's a thick uterine wall. It encloses the womb. This part is known as the womb or the uterus. That's what I'm saying, the uterus or the womb. This is where the baby develops for those 9 months. And the baby develops in stages, which we will look at later in class 8. So this part is known as the uterine wall. And those are the parts of the female reproductive system and their uses or their functions. We look at the male reproductive system now. It is also made up of several organs. This one is known as the scrotum. It's known as the scrotum. It is a skin that encloses the testes. The testes is not one. There are two. We have the testes here. It produces the sperms that I did mention here. And once they are produced, they are stored here. This part is known as the epididymis. 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 This is the part that stores the sperms immediately they are produced. Then during sexual intercourse, the sperms flow from the epididymis. This one comprises, the testis comprises of millions of immature. The moment they mature, they are stored in the epididymis. Then after that, they are released during sexual intercourse and they pass through this tube known as the sperm duct. Once the sperm duct, where the sperms flow. And once they get here, we have the red part that I have dotted here. These are the grads. Names of the grads will be covered later. The grads, these grads produce a fluid known as semen. So the moment the sperms get here, they mix with the fluids from the grads, and they form a mixture known as the semen. Then they are discharged out of the body through this path known as the urethra. The organ the part that is found in the male but not in the female. They flow through the urethra to outside the body. Then we have the penis. It is the one that deposits the sperms in the birth canal. Then the scrotum is a skin that encloses the testes. It encloses the testes. Number two, it also regulates temperature. How does it regulate temperature? The testes, for them to produce sperms, they require temperatures lower than the normal body temperatures. Therefore, that's why they suspend, and you know you have seen this one also in animals. They suspend outside the body so that they can regulate the temperature away from the body, away from the 7 degrees in human beings. Then, once a child is born, the child must undergo some stages. At times we refer them to children, to child or children, then later we call them adolescents. Adolescent is someone who has attained the puberty age. And what you call the puberty age is when you see some physical changes in that young child who is changing. The process of changing from childhood to adulthood is known as adolescence. And when it starts, we say that boy or girl is at puberty age. And there are some changes that you see physically in the boy or the child. For example, how do you tell the boy is in adolescence? Number one, you realize that the beards start glowing. Number two, their chest and shoulders broaden. Make further, you can see they develop that shape. The shoulders and the chest broaden. Then from there, their voice breaks. Number two, they also experience what we call wet dreams. Others would wish to know what is wet dream. This is when they discharge sperms in a dream. That's why we call it a wet dream. Then from there, the same boys, the hair grow in the armpits and in the pubic area. They also increase rapidly in height and in weight. They weigh more than they used to weigh. Then the pimples may appear on the face, and once the pimple appear, at times they dry, leaving some scars, some black marks, which we call the acnes. Acnes are dry pimples. Then number three, at that age also, because they are very active and they are growing very fast, they sweat a lot to move waste. Therefore, their sweat glands become more active. They sweat more than they used to sweat when they are young. The girls also, what do you see to tell that the girl is in adolescence or is changing from childhood to adulthood? These are the following things: the breast, the nudge. They are also their hips. For the boys, it's up here, but for the girls, it is different. Their hips enlarge, their hips bloated. Number three, the menstruation starts. We wish to know what the meaning of the word menstruation. Menstruation, I will discuss it using this diagram. Is when an ovary releases an ovum through a process we say known as ovulation. The ovum cannot remain in the oviduct forever. Its lifespan is 48 hours. So the moment it dies, it gets discharged out of the body. The moment it was released, the uterine wall thickens. And therefore, when this ovum dies, it flows out with the wall that was already thickened and had a lot of blood, disintegrates and discharges blood. So the discharge of blood after every 28 days, because the ovum was not fertilized, is what we call menstruation. These others are also common. Girls will also have hair under the armpit and the pubic area. They also have increase in height and weight. They also have pimples on the face and acnes after the pimples have dried. Their sweat glands will also increase. And to mention the last, there are other changes that occur. We have discussed the physical, those that we can see or touch. Now we're going to discuss those that we cannot touch. They affect the feeling of the adolescent, how they are feeling, and the moods. Those changes that affect the feeling of an adolescent are known as emotional changes. For example, the girls are likely to feel shy or embarrassed of their body size, their body shape. That embarrassment or that shyness is what I'm referring to as emotional change. They also tend to change the change of mood. That change of mood is also an emotional change. We have gone through the reproductive system, and thank you for your time. Next time we'll discuss the reproductive system. We'll be looking at the reproduction in human beings. That will be in class 8. Otherwise, have a good evening.